David back.
Yeah. Welcome to the Revolve Recap Weekly Podcast, where we help the members of Revolve Church deepen their connection to God, His family, and His mission. I'm back, and I'm David.
I'm Bill Lackey.
Let's get recapping.
Let's do it.
Bill, I'm back.
Can't wait. So happy about it.
It's so gloomy out for my day back. You would think.
Well, looks like you brought it with you.
Yeah.
Been in a stinky mood ever since you came back from vacation.
I'm like that.
Everybody's happy on vacation. You know what I mean?
So, what are we talking about today? It's like weird. It's like it's been 2 weeks since I've been in this seat, and I don't know what to do.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
What are we going to do, Bill? Tell me.
There's four main things we're doing.
Okay.
1, we're going to share Tales from the Road. 2, we're going to talk about the sermon and what the tweens were discussing, because I don't know if you knew this, but the tweens discussed the same passage as the sermon.
Yeah, I thought that'd be kind of fun to do.
And we're also going to talk about something that David and I are going to do tonight. For the next 2 days.
Did you pack yet?
I packed.
Oh, man, I thought for the first time I would have packed. Whenever we travel, Billy always packs like a week before we leave.
Nope. And my bags are packed. It's in my truck. So I'm not going home again now before I leave. And then we're going to get an update from some of our partners in Southeast Asia.
A video update.
A video update that they made.
So for those of you who don't like reading or listening, just only like TV, I want my MTV. All right.
Wait. I got one more thing.
One more thing? I thought you said four things.
It's a surprise.
5 things.
It's like a 4B.
Is it a surprise for me?
It's a PS. Yeah, it's a surprise for you, too.
I won't even know about it.
I want you guys to tell us. I'm being serious now.
Okay.
Straight talk, Billy. Tell us what you think about the podcast.
That's true.
All right? Tell us what you think about it. Has it been beneficial? Because we've been doing this how many episodes now?
Episode 35.
And there's how many weeks in a year?
52.
That's right. So we've been doing this, and we want to know, is this beneficial? Do you guys feel like this is helpful for your growth? Is it just fun? Or is it the type of thing where you say, I feel like the podcast is helping me understand more about what's going on at Revolve. It's helping encourage me in my walk. I like learning about our mission partners. We need to hear from you. Our dozens of listeners. So we know if this is a good use of time and how we can improve it.
Was that the surprise thing?
That was it.
Oh, okay. So you're done. I would say leave a comment. Leave a comment. This is what you have to do. Pause. Leave a comment. How do you enjoy the podcast? What is it bringing to enrich your life and your growth as a believer and member of Revolve? And if you're listening on a podcast, shoot us a text, shoot Bill a text, shoot Jen a text.
Email us.
You know how to do it. So, first things first, Tales from the Road.
That was good. Eden's favorite thing.
You know, it is kind of spooky because it's like Halloween.
Ooh.
Next week, maybe a Halloween edition. Trying to trick Billy into doing a costume.
Well, it's not a trick if you ask me to do it.
We should do a costume contest. We'll see.
I feel like I'm going to get canceled.
Yeah. I wanted to be Cheech and Chong because so far, like 3 people of the older generation have like Bonnie said we're like Cheech and Chong.
How does Bonnie even know what Cheech and Chong is?
19 years of her life, she was unsaved.
Wow.
And she told me she was
Cheech and Chong Bonnie.
Wild. Yep. And then my dad sent us that Cheech and Chong video of them like carrying a gas tank.
Yeah.
They said that we're
just like them.
Yeah. So
and who's the third one? Kashi. Kashi. She's a big Cheech and Chong fan.
So
keep Kashi in your prayers, by the way. She fell down the other day because she had a little blood sugar incident. And so keep her in your prayers as she recovers.
Yeah. So there's a passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 that says, I've made myself a servant to all that I might win more of them. And Paul is talking about how to the Jew, he's going to be like the Jew. To the Greek, he's going to be like the Greek. And Billy and I and Zach and Googie and Scotty, we went down to Puerto Rico a couple years ago to do a little hurricane relief. And this is one of those verses where we had one of these times where we had to be all things to all people. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know how to start this story, but so what we had to do is we were basically helping demo a house.
Yes.
to rebuild it. So the house has already been torn down because of a hurricane, but we're going to demo it, clear the lot so that we can, lay the foundation for a crew to come in later to rebuild.
Well, they were going to rebuild out of block. It was built it was framed, and I think it had like tin. And basically what they were going to do is take that lumber on a concrete pad. They were going to temporarily build almost like a shelter for their stuff.
Yeah.
So to protect it from the elements.
And there's something that happens as an American that you just feel like you know the right way to do everything. You're like, look, we invented the iPhone, we discovered electricity, we
nuclear bomb.
We've done it all. So we know what's best.
Colt 45.
So we figured if you're gonna, rebuild a house, you go to Lowe's, you buy a box of nails, and you start hammering them things.
That's right.
Or
you go to the hardware store 5 minutes down the road in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Which was there. So, but the owner of the house wanted us to take every single nail that we could find and pull it out of the wood and straighten it so that we could reuse it, because we were rebuilding a small section of the house. Right.
And so we had this system where Scotty and Zach were tearing things apart, and there was Billy and I in the corner with a pile of nails trying to straighten every single nail.
Put them in the coffee can.
And every 3 minutes we would say, there's a hardware store down this street. I have $10 in my pocket. I will buy you nails. No. The owner kept telling us, we're just going to reuse these nails. And you were
They're still good.
Oh my goodness.
So then we got done straightening them, and then me and Grandpa, he wanted me to help him frame the wall.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've ever tried to use nails that have been restraightened, but the second time you hit them, do you know what happens again?
They bend.
They bend in the same spot. And then he'd go, and he'd pull it out, and he'd straighten it, and he'd go, and it would bend.
Oh, my word. And this happens every country we go to. We were helping in Southeast Asia paint a wall one time, and the guy who was
for a living, just so you know.
The guy, yes, painting is what I do for a living, and the guy, he watered down the paint, this gallon of paint. It was like 1 part paint, 3 parts water.
Oh, it was so ridiculous.
And it was like painting a wall with milk. Literally, like the consistency of milk, the covering capability of milk. Oh man, and this has happened.
Splattering everywhere when you roll.
Remember we were building Scotty helped build a compost pile, and there was another thing of like how we were cutting the wood. They had a certain way they wanted us to cut it. We were
Move the board against the saw. Is that what it was?
It was something crazy, but
yeah.
But you know what? You have to. These are the times when you have to kind of swallow your pride and say, "We'll do it your way."
Yeah, even though it took us 8 hours to frame out a 4-foot section of wall.
Yep.
And it could have been a lot more productive, but you know what? It's not about being productive. It's about serving people and encouraging them in their faith. And that guy wasn't a believer, and I was able to share a little bit with him with my meager Spanish. And my favorite part of that trip, though, was when we got to the house where we were going to help do demolition, and Googie got very uncomfortable.
She did, because she knew that there was an operation going on behind the scenes of this house. Mm-hmm. And she thought that we were just...
She thought we wouldn't know.
She thought we wouldn't know the reason there was 50 chickens in cages.
And that they all had razor blades strapped to their talons.
So the house that we were working had a underground cockfighting training facility going on in the background, and this guy was so excited to show us.
He's like, let me show you these. And so we go
Googie's like, you don't need to show them. Nope.
And then Scotty was over here like Napoleon Dynamite. He was like, do the chickens have large talons?
Yes. The chickens had huge talons, and he actually brought 2 chickens out, and they were fighting for us, and
oh, it was great.
It was interesting.
Googie, she will deny it to this day.
Yeah. So sometimes when you're overseas, you gotta participate in some illegal cockfighting rings, and
you know what? Here's what you gotta do. You gotta do what you gotta do. Yes. All things, all people.
I didn't bet. I didn't gamble.
I mean, I only whenever I do cockfighting, it's only for slips.
So Yeah, so we thought that was a fun story to share. That sometimes, we do these service projects in other countries, and you swallow your pride for the sake of the gospel. Because I feel like every country you go to, you find yourself, even in Greece when we were like shoveling, they wanted a certain way it had to be done when we were working in the refugee camp.
Oh my goodness!
It's like, all right, we'll do it your way, but just remember,
I can tell one story like
this.
It's
pretty awesome. We've figured it out, the better way to do things.
I was in Czech Republic 21 years ago, and this camp was adding a well. And they wanted, one of the things I had to do, I forgot about this. I had to dig a trench for the water main. So it had to be below freezing. So, I mean, you're talking like 3.5 feet, down. And I had to dig this trench that was 3.5 feet deep, as wide as like a shovel, and it had to be it had to have been 300 yards.
300 yards?
Yes.
That's 3 football fields.
It was
You
ridiculous.
are exaggerating. No way.
It was the entire, maybe 150 yards. Okay. It was at least 2 football fields, I think.
Okay.
And the neighbor owned a backhoe. And me and the other guys who were digging this, we had to go from one side of the camp to the other side of the camp because they were building new cabins or something like that. And we kept being like, why don't we all just pitch in $50 and ask this guy if we can rent his excavator for an afternoon?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were like, no, you got it. We're going to do it by hand. If it wasn't 3 football fields, David, it sure felt like it.
I'm sure.
All I know is I lost 25 pounds in 8 weeks.
So, all right. So that was Tales from the Road.
That was good, David. Good job.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's up at Revolve?
What is up at Revolve? It is that time of year. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I mean, it's beginning to look a lot like Halloween on my block, but Christmas is on. It's Christmas at Michael's.
It is Christmas at Michael's. It is like St. Patty's Day at Michael's already. So Operation Christmas Child is back, and if you would like to participate in that, basically, we'll post a video with more details in the description. But you pack up a shoebox. It's got some goodies in it. It has a gospel presentation in it. It's a nice way to, bless some people in some areas that, may not have the opportunity to have some gifts, but at the same time, it's sharing the gospel. It's a way to open the door to get into these areas where the gospel may not be reached. So every year we participate in this in Revolve. So we just encourage you to grab a shoebox. Only take as many as you need. Don't feel like you're like, I'm going to grab 15 shoeboxes, because it costs money to...
It's like $10 or $12 a box to ship.
Yes.
And I mean, if you do 2 boxes, you're going to easily spend $50.
Yes. So you have to pay to put stuff in it. You have to pay to ship it. So all these things. So I would recommend just, if you're a family, just get 1 or 2. If you have your DG, maybe get 3. This is a great activity for families to do together. Have your kids go out and pick out some toys that can go in there, or do it with your DG. We've invited people from our neighborhood, some of the neighbor kids, as just a way for us to present, hey, this is what, we do, and we, share the love of Jesus with the world. So use it as an opportunity to bless those far, but also as an opportunity to unify your family and your group, your discipleship group, or your friend group, to be a blessing.
It's good to serve together. It's a good way to build friendships. Have a pizza day, pizza night, pizza afternoon, get some cookies,
pizza party.
When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime.
Pizza anytime. You can. So get your boxes. They got to be back by November 13th. You can get your box on Sunday. You can bring it back the next Sunday. Only take what you need. Have fun doing that. So
get a box, fill it up, drop it off.
Whoa. You patent it. You should trademark that and sell it to
Franklin Graham.
Yeah, World Vision. I'm sure they never thought of that.
It's not World Vision, David. It's
Who is it?
Samaritan's Purse.
Samaritan's Purse. What did I say?
Are you even a Christian?
I love that when I was in the Philippines doing hurricane relief, and it would be like you would see Samaritan's Purse all over on the ground, and then you'd see like all these like UN things. They were just like stuck in the ports because of all the red tape. But Samaritan's Purse, man, they were like, as soon as the hurricane hit, they were in there the next day.
They rode the hurricane in. Like
they are an incredible organization, and because of whatever, they can bypass some of the red tape that places like the UNHCR and all that has to go through.
It's nuts. Praise the Lord for them.
We're looking up.
Yeah, we're looking up. So yesterday I talked through 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 5 to 15. And the big idea being that, God has commanded us to live in response to the gospel. You could summarize it by saying that we love because he first loved us. It's kind of this response to that. But the main focus in the worship center was the fact that if you aren't growing in your love for yourself and your love for other people, it's because Peter says in verse 9, it's because you forgot that you've been forgiven. Yeah. And so we talked about the danger of self-condemnation or the danger of self-ignorance, where you're like, I'm not a sinner, I'm not that bad, and how both those things are really dangerous because they choke out your growth. Yeah, but David and Melissa were in tweens. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I think I caught because I was in tweens and I caught the tail end of the sermon, and those were the two things that I heard you talking about. And it's so you would think that the thing that chokes out the gospel in people is them. People being like, oh, that doesn't bother me, or that doesn't bother God. I'm forgiven, blah, blah, blah. I can just keep going living that way. But really, it is a real problem, and I struggle with it like you do, that like, oh, I'm such an idiot. Like, how could God love me? I'm always messing up. And like really that self-condemnation and really remembering Romans 8:1. So, so when I caught that tail end, I was like, yeah, that's true for me as well. And I think it's true for a lot of people.
Yeah,
that are believers, and I think it's good to remind one another, like you do for me and I do for you, and Romans 1:8, man, just remember that.
I got a bunch of texts yesterday from people who were talking about how they struggle with self-condemnation, and I'm going to put all their names in the comments. Just kidding. Just joking. Anyway, but David was in tweens, and they did the same passage, so why don't you tell us a little bit about how that went?
Yeah, so we have started. Now, is it just tweens? What is
just tweens? Tweens, beginning in 2 Peter, they do the same passage every week as you guys. And so that means we did that intentionally. And if you pay attention on the bottom of their sheet, there's a discussion question for you to talk about with your kids in the car ride home.
Yes. So we talked about the same passage, but what we found yesterday, Melissa and I found yesterday, is we were going through the verse, and there was a verse. Verse 5 says, "Supplement your faith with a generous provision of moral excellence."
In the NLT.
Yeah, and for fifth graders and sixth graders, that was a really kind of weighty sentences. There was a lot of like heavy things in there. So we took some time and we broke it down. Supplement your faith with a generous provision of moral excellence. And I was thinking about it this morning. I think there's so many times we read the Bible, and even we as adults, we hit a sentence that we don't really like fully grasp, or the way it's written or worded, we don't understand it, but we just keep blasting right through it. And what I taught the kids yesterday was, let's just break it down word by word and like, okay, supplement. What does supplement mean? Like fourth and fifth graders didn't really understand what supplement meant, so we broke it down. We said, okay, supplement kind of sounds like supply. If you go camping, you bring supplies, you have to bring things with you. These are added things that you bring to make your camping trip more effective.
Yeah.
Supplement your faith, so we kind of talked about that. And I was like, this is a good lesson for kids, but I think for adults as well. Really don't get discouraged if you're reading something and you don't really know it. Because just take some time, pray, and try to work it out. Because we really want people. One of the number one goals of Revolve Church is to have people equipped to be able to hear, obey, and share the Bible. And so don't get discouraged, and just know that you can be or should be equipped to read this. That you don't always have to go right to a commentary or go right to skipping over it.
Right.
So. I just kind of want to share that this morning. I thought that was really, really a good lesson for the kids, but also for adults. Because I know even in my own, like when I'm studying the Old Testament, and there's like some of these like tribes and the the different cities and cultures.
It's easy to zone out.
And you're like, man, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just gonna skip right through Chronicles.
So I'll give you guys a little tidbit here, because if you're like me, I tend to read quickly and then have poor comprehension. I think like when I was a little kid, it was like whoever finished the book first, they shut it. And so I was like, yeah, and then they shut the book and develop bad habits. And so when I hit those passages, what I do is I read it out loud to myself, or I will, even if I don't actually verbalize it, I'll read it like without making noise. Do you know what I mean? And that forces me to slow down, because otherwise I'll be like, something for the generous more, and I'll just kind of go through it. But then when I say supplement your faith with a generous provision of moral excellence, and I'll force myself to read it out loud because it requires me to slow down.
Yeah.
It's free tips. That's how they call me, Free Tip Billy.
Man, that is bonus Billy.
Yep. And it's actually, I guess the technical term for that, or part of it, I think it was called Lectio Divinae or something like that, when you would read the scripture out loud a few times, and so that you're seeing it, you're hearing it, and you're saying it. So it involves three of those things at once. And so they would read it out loud twice, and they'd ask the Lord, is there a key verse or phrase or word you want me to focus on? Get that locked in your brain. Read it out loud again, specifically with that process and that word or phrase or verse in your mind, and then ask the Lord, what do you want me to hear from this passage? And then you do the same thing, and then you conclude with, how do I obey it?
Yeah. So we're moving on. So we're going to do on the ground. We haven't done on the ground in a while.
Well,
I feel like it's been a while.
That's because you've been gone for 2 weeks.
I know, that's true.
So
on the ground, so these were some of the passages. These are some of the qualities that were in the passage that we supplement our faith with these generous provisions of moral excellence, but also knowledge, self-control, patience. So I was thinking maybe we could just on the ground.
Ooh, like a game show. You read the word and then I give a response, vice versa.
Yeah, we could do that. So what would be an example of moral excellence?
I'll start that one. Dave, what's an example of moral excellence?
But I started it.
All right.
Fine. Okay, no, I'll go. Moral excellence.
It's fine.
Moral excellence is what I tell my kids is character is how you act when no one's around.
Don't be an idiot. So
moral excellence for me would be pay your taxes, be a good steward with what you have as a business. As a business owner, I'm not going to do anything shady with how I pay my taxes, or hide money, or only paying cash, that kind of stuff.
Right. So integrity. That's good. I like that.
All right, Billy. Knowledge.
Abiding.
Abiding.
I wanted that because it was easy.
Some of the
knowledge, growing in intimate relationship with Jesus.
And one of the girls in the group with the tweens said knowledge and application of that knowledge. I thought was good, because she said if you're just reading the Bible and you're not obeying it, that's it's
you're
not
a fool. You're an idiot.
All right.
Self-control.
When someone man, these are so the example. I didn't
want self-control because I have none.
So the example I gave the kids was: you show up to a party, there's a pizza with 8 slices, and you either take one and share 7, or you share 7 and you just leave 1. So showing self-control, 1 slice of pizza, you don't have to have 7.
I gained 5 pounds this weekend. I have no self-control.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. You go to hibachi, you get that rice. I know you want rice and noodles. You're like, yes, I need rice and noodles.
And I need to drink the soy sauce. Can I have a cup of soy sauce?
Oh, my goodness. What's next? Godliness.
And patient endurance. You skip patient endurance.
No, godliness. Oh, patient endurance. Patient endurance is when you wait for godliness to happen. You don't just jump right to it.
Patient endurance is the fact that all of this is going to end well, so you don't need to panic and get all fisticuffs or anxious today.
Oh, give me an example of that. Because I feel like that's.
I'll give you an example. So
this is on the ground.
Whoa! It just started pouring out of nowhere.
It is.
Hope
raining.
You weren't walking the dog, Gina.
Whew, it is raining right now. Can you hear that on the microphone? Rain.
Wow. Anyway, So patient endurance, example of that. When Gina and I were first married, it's fine, Dave. He's so worried about the audio right now. I could tell. Patient endurance. I'll get closer to the mic, all right?
I'm enduring. Okay.
So when we first got married, we rented a mother-in-law suite of this house up in Titusville, New Jersey. And we paid our deposit, our security deposit, whatever it's called. And then when we went to leave, the guy wouldn't give us our deposit back. And his reasoning was because we didn't clean the tub well enough.
Oh.
And so we were like, we'll come back and clean it.
And I know Billy loves to clean.
And he was fighting about it. And Gina was getting really frustrated because she wanted me, I'm like the new husband. She wanted me to crack some skulls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just kept saying, no, we need to just pray. This guy's supposedly a believer. Let's pray. We expressed ourselves. Let's kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. And so in that patience process, instead of just escalating it, you're trusting yourself to the Lord, like Jesus said, or Paul says, why not rather be wronged? All that kind of stuff. And then a week later, since I didn't nag him about it, he followed up. He's like, we're going to give you your deposit back.
That's awesome.
So I think that's a small, very simple, not we were being persecuted.
Yeah.
It's just a very simple example of trust yourself to the Lord, do what is the right, behave with moral excellence and self-control. And as you pursue those two things, moral excellence and self-control, then it's going to lead you to this steadfastness even when you're under trial, instead of being I can't believe this, and you start freaking out.
Great example. I mean, that's why we do this on the ground. Get examples. People are like, I can relate to that.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Can you guys relate? If you can relate, smash like now. Godliness. I think this is the hardest one to define.
Godliness was the hardest one. I had a hard time with doing this one with the kids yesterday because I felt like all of this encompanies godliness. But I think for me, godliness is God shows mercy and grace and forgiveness. And so godliness is just going through your day, having mercy, having grace, pouring that out. So
I think when I looked it up, I think that's a good example, by the way. I think when I looked it
thanks,
up,
Bill.
The Greek definition of the word, let me see if I can check real quick. I think it was reverence, respect, piety towards God. And so I was reflecting on that, and I think it's almost like if moral excellence, I don't want to say it's the physical change. There's this godliness is a change that happens within.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like moral excellence might be, don't cuss at your TV when the Eagles get an interception. You know what I mean? But then godliness might be just the posture of your heart and how you're going about your day, as you're thinking about the Lord. I don't know. Some of those different kind of nuances of the external versus the internal.
No,
if you think about it, excellence, knowledge, self-control, they're not external, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. They're a little bit easier to define than godliness, brotherly affection, and love. They're a little bit harder to define.
Well, and I think it's a posture of your heart too. If you look at a sunrise and you're like, it's a beautiful sunrise.
Yeah,
we've all seen that. But
right.
Godliness, a reverence for God, would be wow, Lord, thank you for this beautiful gift of a new day. You created this. So you're in awe.
And that's different from moral excellence.
Yes. Yeah.
Good
job. Glad we worked that out.
Yep. Team together.
Team together. That's why they call us Team Together.
Team together.
All right. Brotherly affection. Yep.
Just being your bro.
Yeah.
For Jesus,
Yep.
Care about you, what's going on, genuinely concerned. I think of Philippians 2, don't just consider yourself, consider the needs of others.
Yep.
Be a bro, not a Chad.
Yeah.
But be a brother.
Yeah, be a brother. And then love for everyone, unconditional love.
Yeah, unconditional or selfless love.
Yeah.
That's another level, right? Jesus doesn't just say love your brother.
Yes.
He said love your enemy.
Yeah. So,
that's a different
so we
level.
went through those with the kids and tried to give some examples because I think that's important with the kids is that you don't want to give them these abstract thoughts. It's what does this actually look like? And it's even for kids, it's share the pizza, because it's when we were on vacation this weekend and it was 14 kids in our house. And when it was time for ice cream, you're get in line and they're we're burning this place down because we want the ice cream. And you're no, just have some patience, have some self-control.
Yep.
But I think that applies to us too.
Yep.
Because when we're give me that ice cream.
Yep. That's what happens. I get an ice cream cone in here and David tackles me. I just got an ice cream cone from me and President Biden, and Dave wouldn't even let me share it.
Nope. I wanted that ice cream cone, Billy. You didn't even earn it. All right, Billy. What's
question?
up? What is up? What's up? At Revolve. Billy's been doing something. You've been working on something. This men's ministry thing.
Well, I'm not working on it. I mean,
but
it's
you
not
just
my
started.
thing.
Yeah, no, but you just started participating in it.
Yes.
And I'd like to know a little bit more about it.
Well, I guess it's been like a year and a half or longer. I started with a couple churches like First Baptist Cape May Courthouse, Lighthouse, First Baptist Cape May Island, Grace Gospel. And basically, these churches started, I think it was like during the pandemic when everybody was at each other's throats. It's like they were at each other's throats about race stuff, about COVID, about vaccines, about politics. And some of these men's ministries were like, let's get together once a month and let's rise above this. Yeah. And so they've been meeting, and they did like some Right Now Media type Bible studies and things like that. But over the summer, they started asking questions about discipleship. And so some of the ABCs that we've been doing at Revolve, we're now doing those with the men's ministry, but we're going slower. So I introduced the concept of abiding in the Word and in prayer last month. And then Pastor George from First Baptist Church in Cape May Courthouse, who's hosting this month, he's going to go deeper into that. And then Dan Dutton is going to go, Pastor Dan Dutton is going to go into it more the following month.
So we at Revolve for years we're decentralized. We don't have a men's ministry.
Right.
So what would be the appeal or the reasoning for us to get involved in this now?
Well, I think you need to remember that the word church is used in three different ways in the New Testament. There's the church that's the immediate local church. That would be like the church that meets in our house, it says in the New Testament, the church that meets in our house. And then the second version of the church is the regional church. That's like the church of the city of Ephesus. So Revolve actually is more of a regional church than a local church, because we get people who drive 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And then you have the global church. Mm-hmm. And so it would be an accurate statement to say that there is the Church of Cape May County. It's all believers who live in Cape May County. Now, they're not committed to the same congregation, but they are part of the Church of Cape May County. And so I think the advantage of going to these things is you realize these people aren't your enemies. They're not your competition. We want the Church of Cape May County to thrive, and we can encourage each other to that end. And so you can kind of cross streams, or as my one church planning movement friend says, it's cross-pollination, cross-pollination so that you can learn from each other.
Yeah, I think there's a danger that happens in, my only experience is really with South Jersey, is because you have so many of these Protestant evangelical churches on kind of almost every corner, that there does come a little bit of, there's some sheep stealing and, people swapping. And so we do get a little protective and competitive.
And a lot of that you can't control as a church. Like if somebody leaves another church and comes to Revolve, we always ask them, why did you leave? Yeah. Did you leave well? Does any reconciliation? Like we really go above and beyond to try to, I don't want to say push back, but for lack of a better term, but at the end of the day, if somebody decides they want to go to your church or leave your church, it's kind of out of your hands. Yeah. Because we're not like, there's only one church in New Jersey because this is Afghanistan. It's like, no, there's lots of churches. And so it is what it is, but we can all get along. Yeah.
So I think this is a great opportunity to kind of to build that unity. And then you may find that you meet someone that goes to another church that might be a coworker of yours. And it's like, hey, this, now we could start a Bible study at work together or something like that. So I think it is strengthening the bond of, unifying brothers and sisters.
The bond of peace.
What was that?
Paul says in Ephesians, fight for the unity and the bond of peace.
Oh, I was hoping you had like a little song that you wrote, like unity and the bond of peace.
It's the way to be for you and me.
Whoa, that's a great song. That could be like the theme song for the men's ministry. You can all hold hands in a circle and sing it.
Unity and the bond of peace.
Awesome.
It's for you and me.
So just wait. So what are the details? It's the fourth Monday.
The fourth Monday of every month. I think it meets at 6:30.
Okay. And then whose church is hosting it? So we're rotating.
First Baptist Church of Cape May Courthouse.
And where's that? Is that
You remember, like, you know where Bagel Bazaar is in Cape May Courthouse?
Do I know where Bagel Bazaar
It used to be
is?
Blitz's.
Both favorites
It's
of
next
mine.
to the funeral home.
Also, I know where that is.
Radzieta?
Radzieta.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's a family business, someone told me, and they live upstairs.
Well, all them ghosts.
Takes all kinds.
Shoo, boy.
You guys are braver than I am.
All right. So fourth Monday.
Because those ghosts will kill you.
Fourth Monday of the month, men's ministry with a couple of the local churches. And so we're going to, as Revolve, we're going to kind of start participating in that.
If it's not 6:30, don't trust my brain. It might be 6.
Yeah.
But we'll put it in David can make a little banner that's like, correct time.
I'll do that.
Weep,
I'll do
weep.
that. All right. So we'll look that up. So, all right. So that's what's going on at Revolve, is we're going to be joining this new men's ministry and participating in that. And it's new and exciting for us. You know what? I'm going to do a little fun fact. Bonus Billy.
All right.
Billy the bonus. Do you know that for years now, Bill meets and prays with many of the local pastors.
Well, David,
around.
I wish I could say that were still true, but it kind of fell apart during the pandemic.
Yeah, but those guys are the same guys that we're partnering
Yeah,
with
there's
now.
definitely at least half of them are from that group.
But I would say for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So that's just something that I don't know if a lot of people know about Billy, is that he is working with other local pastors to really to kind of grow this relationship.
Well, that's because I value unity and the bond of peace.
Yeah, but remember that one
and
time you
me.
said that thing and the priest got up and left
No.
at Uncle Bill's? I remember that. There
That
wasn't
did
much
happen.
unity there.
Nope, that's because I said to him, the Bible is more important than your catechism.
Whew. I
Mic
didn't like
drop.
that. You
No,
didn't
it
like
was
that?
it was like reformed thug life.
Oh, I can do that. I can do that.
Basically, he was talking about some Catholic dogma, and I said, "Well, maybe you guys should read the scriptures." And he was like, and I was like,
Baller. All right.
Brett
so,
would have been very proud.
Brett would have been very proud. We'll get a text about that as well.
So we got a really exciting update from Southeast Asia.
We did.
Should we just go right to it?
We can do that. Yeah, we can do that. We're running short on time here. Let's go along today. I know you were enjoying Gina last week. I heard Bill and Gina did a little thing. It was
she told
short.
I told an embarrassing story about her, then she told an embarrassing story about me.
All right.
I told the Saudi story. You remember that story?
On the airplane? I love that story. That's a great story.
What's the problem?
Yeah. How he drew it out on a napkin. So if you don't know what we're referencing, listen to last week, because that's a great story.
I can't believe Gina let me tell that story, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
Way to go. That's why they call her Good Sport Gina.
good sport, Gina. So we got a video update from our friends in Southeast Asia. So we're going to roll that for you. And these guys are pro. Their daughter is like a professional videographer.
She actually helps make videos for Jesus Film.
Yes. So you can tell that they did a really good job on this video. They take extra effort in making a nice video for us.
Because they don't want their daughter to get mad at them.
I know. So we're going to roll that right now.
Hi Revolve, we're Leilani and Kevin, and we're greeting you from Southeast Asia.
My highlight is that we're open. We're receiving guests again, and that's exciting because then we're able to get out among the lost, get into homes of unreached people groups. During this high season, we found 29 potential persons apiece in just one of the unreached people groups. And it's been exciting to see how our team of workers has persevered in follow-up and in discipleship, spending weeks out in the surrounding areas, in homes and villages, and doing the follow-up. One of my low moments, or low lights, whatever you call it, was getting Chickanunga. I guess probably need spelling on that on the screen. But that has slowed me a bit, although we're still going. It's also quite discouraging when you offer help. We were in a village where a lady was clearly possessed, demon-possessed, and offered to pray for her in Jesus' name and see her freed. and she and the whole village turned us down. And I remember my last words were, even if it could help you, even if it could free you, you don't want me to pray for you. And still they turned us down. And so those are the discouraging ones. But the work of the Lord going forward has been encouraging, and Leilani will explain that further.
Yeah, so my low light was Kevin being sick, and it's been over 2 months that he has had chikungunya. And it means stooped over or bends you up. You actually get crippled. And I had it as well, but thankfully I've been well for 2 weeks now. So that's something that we're praying that Kev will get rid of this virus that he had. But because he had the virus, I got to go to the village with a small team that didn't include him. But I went with 3 others, and we went to an island, and it was a real highlight. It was a highlight because I was talking to God the morning we were going to get out, leave on the boat, and I was struggling, and I said, Lord, help me. It's hard for me to really believe in this, or that you're really going to show up and work. And he just said, believe. And as we went out on the water, the horizon just looked terrible. There was bad weather, there were waves, but God was there, and he was very, very present with us as we went on the trip, and God just kept saying, believe. We were there a couple of nights. We had great interactions. We got to share the gospel. We got to share Jesus. But the highlight of that trip was in the evening when we got together with our person of peace. We hadn't seen him for over 2 years due to the pandemic and due to the village chief not allowing us to come onto the island. And I wondered, what's going to happen with these people's faith? 3 people and their families. And after more than 2 years of not being with them and discipling them, I would say that their faith was stronger than what it had been. God continued to work in their hearts, even when we weren't there. His Spirit kept working. And so that was really, really neat. And then it was very special when a 12-year-old boy, one of the boys in the family, he prayed for the first time in Jesus' name. And I said my prayer request was for Kevin to get well. And so he said, what's the end of the prayer again? Dalam nama Isa? I said, yes, Dalam nama Isa al-Masih, in Jesus' name. And so he prayed. It wasn't a short prayer, but he prayed, and he prayed for Kevin to get well. He said, in Jesus' name, Dalam nama Isa al-Masih, Amen. And it was just beautiful to see a child, a 12-year-old from an unreached people group, pray in Jesus' name for the first time. It was really beautiful.
We want to thank you for your prayers, your support, for making it possible to reach these unengaged, unreached people groups with the gospel, to disciple them in a way that they can go on to disciple others from their own unreached people group. You've made this possible, and we are incredibly grateful.
Well, thank you to our friends there in Southeast Asia for the update. And, it was encouraging to hear the lows as well, because we think that, ministry, well, maybe because they're overseas, it's, every day they're baptizing people, and, and it's ministry here, ministry abroad. There's highs and lows.
That's
and,
right.
I think missionaries need to be comfortable with sharing those lows as well, because because we understand it's not all highs.
Sunshine, rainbows, lollipops.
Nope. So we appreciate that. And if you like these videos, now this is like probably the 4th or 5th video update we've gotten from our overseas ministry partners. So if you like these videos, we can keep them coming. I know the partners are they're busy. They can't be making videos every week for us, but we can ask for more videos. So if you like these videos, let us know.
If you don't like them, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, we don't want to hear about it.
Only good news. It's a good news podcast.
Good news podcast. All right, Billy, well, land it for us. Land the plane for us. What we got What's the last word with Lackey? Lackey's last word.
You know, unity and the bond of peace is for you and me. Just wait and see.
Unity and bond of peace is something that's for you and me.
Unless I have to tell you off at Uncle Bill's because you're a heretic.